speaking on, after I wrote the speech, I thought about it, and I realized as I practiced it that the title doesn't really fit, but I will attempt to make my point anyway. In the United States, the 12th leading cause of death is by suicide, greater than car accidents and many other things that we fear for the most part. And globally, suicide is the third leading cause of death. Men tend to commit suicide at a higher rate compared to women, and one of the reasons that I realized from researching is because women tend to speak more about things that bother them and also to seek help. And in regards to my topic, I am going to share a picture of my brother, and I'm going to have you pass it on. The reason I selected this picture of Benjamin is because it's a true reflection of how I remember him. We lived together in the same house for years until I was 20 years old. And we also lived together when we were both in college in Texas. The picture is not very clear. He took it himself, and it pretty much shows different faces of himself, and that's how I remember him, because despite knowing him for many years, I still feel like I never really knew who he was. I never got to know and understand his fears or his joys or his pain. And Benjamin took his life back in September 2004. September the 8th, 2004, leading to my topic that I was going to discuss today. One of the things that I promised myself I would do is I would pay attention to people around me, and that is my goal today, is to help inspire and help us recognize the signs of that could lead that someone could be struggling with depression. Some of the people that are more likely to commit suicide are people that are depressed, people that come from homes where there's a history of depression or suicide in the family. Also, we see this a lot with older people and people living with chronic illnesses, or people that struggle with depression, and also substance abuse, or people that are in abusive relationships. What I would like for us to really focus on today is the signs of someone that may likely commit suicide. And that would be, first of all, depression, and another point would be substance abuse, to repeat that. And another thing, which is one thing that I never really noticed with my brother, but I did not know how to deal with it at that point, is social isolation. People will tend to stay away from people and their loved ones. Even though you're with them, they will not share about themselves as much. Another thing would be having a plan. Some people will buy a weapon, others will research online about different ways to end their lives, and others may also buy things like poison. Another thing would be giving away things that they think is valuable to them. One thing that was the final thing for me and should have been the final clue, but I was in denial, was my brother gave me his guitar, something that he had owned for a really long time. And I tried to talk to him, I prayed with him, and I encouraged him to be positive about things and about life. And I never wanted to share it with anyone because I was afraid I would push him away even farther than how far I felt he was from me. Another thing would be calling loved ones, pretty much to say goodbye, calling people you haven't, that they may not have called for years or spoken to for a long time. So that would be my first point, is to learn to recognize the symptoms of people that are at risk for committing suicide. The other thing that we can do as a community and also as family members to people that struggle with this would be to help them seek help. There are a couple of places or ways that we can do that. There is a suicide hotline that you can call. And then also there is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is non-for-profit, because I realize that not everyone is able to afford health care and follow-up care. And with the challenges that we have in healthcare, especially for mental illness, it can be hard to keep going on and encouraging someone to keep going on to get help when it's hard to get the money or to get the medication that someone needs. Another thing would be the Department of Health and Human Services, which is run by the government, and that's also an avenue for getting assistance. The other thing is, if you feel like maybe you do not know someone that you could help, another thing that you could do is make donations to like the non-profit organizations like the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Another contribution would be quite possibly to mentor younger people that may be struggling. According to the Center for Disease Control, the biggest number of people that commit suicide are between the ages of 15 and 44, which are people who maybe with the right kind of guidance and support could make a different choice for their lives. And one organization that I have come to work with is called Big Brother, Big Sisters. And pretty much you spend time with someone that is young and help to hopefully influence them in a positive way in their lives, and also to help them make good and positive decisions. So with all said, I just read a book called The Power of One, and it just exemplifies how one person can make a difference in making a change in the course of someone's life. And I hope that even if we don't do too much, even the little that we